than I anticipated. But I guess to cut right to it in terms of what we're going to do with this case, I have filed charges against the driver, the juvenile driver of the white Land Rover. I'll show you the video here. You get a copy of that. One count of fleeing and eluding in the first degree. Essentially, that is fleeing and eluding causing death. Okay, we charged him. We've also charged him with CCE, continuing criminal enterprises, for what occurred on this day. Both those are felony charges. What I am going to do, I'm going to ask for an adult waiver as well. They're a juvenile. I'm not going to announce it since it is a juvenile. This is not a situation where I can do an automatic waiver. Very often in homicides, rape, something like that, I can automatically waive a juvenile to the adult court. That is not the case here. I can ask the court for permission. It's called a traditional waiver. So I'll be asking for a traditional waiver on this juvenile for the fleeing and eluding and the CCE charges. So I'll get into it a little bit more. I figure this is, kind of explain my decision maybe after I show you the video. This is the in-car video of what happened on that day. To give you a little bit of background, this was probably about just before 7 o'clock. As you can see, I think it's 1856, so it's just before 7 o'clock in the evening. What preceded this, though, was a chase in Holland. The Holland police had actually chased this same Land Rover, Range Rover, however you want to, it changes around in terms of who's describing it. But they had led them on a chase. This from Holland all the way to basically the kids. And what had occurred was the deputy had caught the flock camera, had it coming across on 44th Street. So if you're coming across a state line right at Rivertown Parkway, it's very easy to get off there. You're cutting across, heading towards 131. He had information that the vehicle was coming. He knew about the chase in Holland, knew that Holland police had basically chased it all the way to the county line. And so he was picking this up at this point in time. You'll pick up the video as he's making contact with this white Range Rover as it comes up. I'll stop it there in terms of, that's nothing in terms of this body cam. You'll see anything, or the video there, you'll see anything more, but quite clearly he hit him. He sideswiped him, kind of went to the side. From the evidence, I'll show you my opinion in a little bit. From the evidence, what it appears to is he caught him with the tire. From his statement, he was trying to cut him off from going into the neighborhoods in the back there. Tried to pull in front of him. Looks like the tire essentially caught his left calf, pulling off his shoe and kind of a slingshot down. You saw it was a violent fall to the ground. So that's what occurred there. And based on everything I think, if you look at it, it's not showing up there now, but he was doing about 22 miles an hour, according to the in-car video. We have no reason to disbelieve that. These cruisers are equipped with the black box, if you will, to record it, but the event is not recorded. It just didn't record enough to be able to exact from the back box. So he's doing 22 miles an hour. He also says, and from the video, I also can show you, he believes there may be a gun involved. You look at right there, maybe you can see right there, and you can get it a little bigger, but there is a black object. It turned out to be a cell phone in his hand. But this group, they've been, quite frankly, I think the police have said, they've been trying to watch this group. The Holland police have pursued them. There have been allegations of this group being involved in stolen cars. Shots have been fired in other places. So he thought this was an armed individual running into a neighborhood. And so he made the decision to try and cut him off. He thought didn't think he had enough time to actually stop the car, get out. The kids had quite a bit of head start. So he tried to pull in front of him. And as you can see, he made contact at some point in time, catching him with the side of his car. I talked to the medical examiner. I did talk to him after. People were asking. I talked to him Friday afternoon, in terms of Friday afternoon, and trying to explain. He said there's no evidence that he was actually run over. There's nothing, in terms of crushed, like his leg was crushed or anything like that. He was caught in the force. He had a broken hip. The force slammed his head to the ground, causing head injuries that caused his demise. So based on all this, based on the facts and circumstances, they did not find a basis to charge the officer. Essentially, I looked at, you look at first second-degree murder. Second-degree murder, there's an intent to kill and intent to do great bodily harm. Did not find that here quite clearly. He's going past him. He's trying to cut him off from getting into a neighborhood. Can you say that the natural tendency, the likely act, is to cause death or great bodily harm when you're trying to cut in front of somebody and stop him from going there? He clearly, if he wanted to run him over, he could have just gunned it right at him, and there's no evidence of that once again. Talking with the medical examiner, he didn't get thrown. He's at the side of the vehicle, so he didn't just run him over. So the likely intent we have for a secondary murder is not there. So I looked at gross negligence. And gross negligence is very similar. I don't use this as much, but the defendant is aware of the risk, but to the ordinary mind, it must be apparent that the likely result is proved disastrous to another. And once again, given the speed, 22 miles an hour, he's trying to apprehend what he believes are dangerous individuals. This is not, you don't take this as just, what happens here. There's a kid running. They have run from the police in Holland just before this. They had extensive chase here. There's a possibility of guns being involved. Given the totality of the circumstances, at that speed, I can't say to the ordinary mind that death or great bodily harm is going to result. Obviously, the execution did not happen in terms of how he executed his trying to pull in front of him didn't occur properly. But the fact he's trying to do that is not enough to prove gross negligence for some sort of involuntary manslaughter charge. We did look at the reckless driving. Reckless driving is kind of the next level down. If you look at reckless driving, it's a lower standard. But once again, you look at the language there, conduct that results in a plain and strong likelihood that death or great bodily harm would result. I can't say there's a plain and strong likelihood at that speed, given the circumstances and everything like that. So we're left, once again, the only thing we have was a moving violation causing death. A moving violation causing death is kind of some sort of a civil infraction, a ticket, if you will. But when you look at the civil infraction, there is a specific statute, MCL 257-603, it kind of grants leeway to officers responding in an emergency situation. And when you're responding in an emergency situation, they can do things that we can't do or other people can't do. They can run stoplights, they can exceed speeds, they can do stuff like that. So it's hard to point at a civil infraction that he would have committed. Driving over the curb, yeah, none of us can do that. But in a pursuit, there are certain things officers can do when they're trying to apprehend what they believe at the time is a dangerous individual. So looking at all that, I did not believe there's a sufficient basis to file any criminal charges against the deputy. But that does leave the juvenile who led the police on this chase. And that's why I said we're charging him with the fleeing and eluding first. Fleeing and eluding causing death for leading the police on this chase and resulting in the death of Riley. This is a tragic situation. I met with the family. They're not happy with this decision, quite clearly. So we had a long discussion, and I'm sure they think the deputy should be charged. But based on my analysis of the law, based on everything I've looked at, I just find no basis to charge the deputy in this circumstance. So that's my statement. I guess I'll open up for any questions.
Where did you meet the family?
At the state police post.
The state police post.
6th District. Right over there in Walker.
And can you talk about that conversation a little more? You said that they were not happy. What was their initial reaction when you told them?
It's horror. I mean, it's horror to watch. I can't imagine what it's like for the mom and the brother and sister to watch their brother, sister, son to get hit like that and go down. They clearly thought the deputy should be charged. I tried to explain to them my reasoning. I provided them a copy of the opinion. They disagree. I wasn't expecting them to agree. I understand that. I understand there's going to be people that disagree with this decision, not just the family members. But I really, took a look at this, took a look at it with my staff, much like I do a lot of these cases, and try to analyze this point by point. And I'll have a copy of each. There's one opinion for each network, if you will, and you can get a little bit more in depth. But I try to do this the best I can. I just did not find a basis to charge the deputy.
Now, Ben Johnson, the attorney for the family, says this is a case of the deputy using a car as a deadly weapon, no different than a gun.
See, I didn't see that. I mean, he could have gunned it and went right at him. I mean, that's the thing. Quite clearly from the video, he could have. There was nothing stopping him, and he did not do that. He clearly hits him from the side. So he's trying to cut him off. He didn't do it appropriately, and did it and hit him, and maybe cut it too close. And obviously, there are tragic results. But this was not a matter where using the gun analogy, where he's shooting at him. He didn't shoot at him. He didn't gun right for him. He was clearly going by him and trying to go around him, and he got caught. And that happened. It happens. It's a horrible thing to occur, but it's not, and that's why I didn't even get into a fleeing felon, because I thought that may, using deadly force against a fleeing felon. I don't think we get that analysis here, because he was not trying to use deadly force against a fleeing felon. He was trying to cut him off and caught him in what he was trying to do.
So what do you say to people who look at this video and say, why didn't he just get out the car and chase him? I mean, yeah, you can say that he didn't intend to do it, but a car versus a person, I mean, that's not always going to end.
Well, it's always easy for us, to review Monday Morning Quarterback and say, okay, he could have done this. Yeah, he could have done that. The kids have a head start on him. They got a head start on him, and he says he thinks there's a weapon. There's clearly houses right there. Then if he stops and gets them out and tries to run, they've got quite a bit of head start. Then they're in with civilians. I mean, it's split-second decisions at that point in time. So it's hard to say, well, he could have. Yeah, he could have done that. He could have. They said, why don't they let the dog out? It's a canine unit. He could have let the dog out, but if you continue on, it's a process. You get them out, get the leash on, they don't necessarily have that time given the circumstances. And I'm not saying, given the circumstances, these are different circumstances, and we may have charges here. It all depends on what's going on in the totality, and this is not just done in a vacuum, and so that played a large role into this.
Was this a close call for you? Was this a tough call?
Yeah, these are all difficult, and I think this was something that I took a look at. Obviously, it's 42 days. It's been a while since this happened, so it wasn't something that was just a jump to a conclusion. And quite frankly, why didn't it come out sooner? I met with Dr. Cole on Friday. I was meeting Friday afternoon. I was meeting with Dr. Cole to discuss some of this evidence and talk about, what he hadn't seen the video. So I'm like, hey, let's take a look at this. Here's what I'm thinking. The evidence in my mind is this. And he kind of supported that, saying, yeah, that makes sense, kind of what you're looking at. There wasn't if you get hit by a car, you get thrown. It wasn't that. It dropped right there because it looked like there's kind of a catch in that tire, if you will. And that's I guess I'll throw you. There's another photo which I can share basing that decision on. He was handcuffed afterwards, and this is just a photo. If you have it right there, you can kind of see there's a black mark, if you can see, going down the calf, and that one shoe is off. The other shoe is not off. So that's where I'm basing it. It looks like he got caught up in the tire in it and ran up his leg, and that provided the impetus to fall directly to the ground in a violent fashion.
Now, the sheriff and that he brought this on himself with his actions. You saw that press release?
I did not see that press release. I guess I did not see that press release. So no, I did not see that. So I'm not going to say he brought it on. People make decisions. It's there is decision made by everybody. But to say, I am hesitant to say he brought it on himself. I wouldn't go out there and say that.
You go back to the decision in terms of waiving for the juvenile, just for clarification for
Sure.
those listening. Are you saying you want to waive the option for them to be charged as an?
I believe they should be charged as an adult. Okay, but I can't do that on my own. I have to petition the court, in essence, saying, hey, this juvenile, because of everything that's going on here, record, prior history, this incident, I believe there's a sufficient basis to move them into the adult court. That's ultimately a judicial determination. The judiciary can say, yeah, I think I agree with you, or nope, we're going to keep it as a juvenile. That's all I can do under these circumstances. I don't have the complete power, as if it were a juvenile charged with murder. I can do that in certain circumstances, say, nope, it's my opinion, move them right to the adult court. I can't do that here.
Well,
Just
do you
to
go into
clarify.
that a little bit more though? Because I think if some people may watch this and hear juvenile, an adult knows what's right and wrong.
Mhm.
Juvenile, sometimes they don't. Talk about why that's your decision.
But that's, in terms of that goes into the history, and it's hard to talk about the specific history of the juvenile, but this is just something based on the totality of this juvenile's history. Whether it be this incident, his past history, whatever it is, that's what the whole basis is. It's not just because, well, I think it is this incident. It's taking a look at the whole circumstance and everything that juvenile's been through in their time. And then that's about as clear as I can go. I can't go into, the history
And
completely.
Riley was the passenger, right?
Correct.
You saw that correct?
Correct. And if you listen to the body cam or the in-car video, you hear one of the Wyoming cruisers as they're coming down at one point in time say, driver appears to be black male with a silver hood or something along those lines. So you can clearly hear that. Well, how well the deputy knew that at the time when people are bailing out, and how well he heard that at the time, that's hard to tell.
Did the deputy even know he had hit him?
Clearly.
Did he know right away that he hit him?
He stopped. I can't tell that. From there's body cam, and we'll share that with you. He comes out saying, "Show me your hands. Show me your hands." But I don't want to get that in with you in terms of live stream because there's some graphic things on that. But he does come out saying, "Show me your hands," and then comes around. So I don't know if he actually realized he hit him until he came around the corner of the cruiser.
And did the deputy make a statement to the state police? I know.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was interviewed by the state police.
He made a statement, gave a written statement. Yep.
Written statement.
Yep.
But he was not interviewed. He gave a written
A written statement. That's fairly common in these types of situations.
And is he still employed?
You have to ask the sheriff that. I don't believe so, but I don't know what the status is of him right now.
It's it.
Did you plan on naming the officer? Or-
It's been my opinion. So
In terms of the deputy, will it still be considered accidental then?
that's in terms of that's what the MEs in terms of how the sheriff's department characterize it. That's something. I don't even say it's an accident. That's not necessarily. I say there's no criminal charges. That's about as far as I go. Accidental and negligence and stuff like that. That's probably more in the civil arena, which I don't deal with. So that's going to be left up to somebody else.
You expect this to be the attorney for the family to ask the AG to review this? Have you heard that?
I don't know. I have not heard that at all. No.
You also talked about the potential of there being a weapon in the hand. Just for clarification, was there anything?
No. No, it was a phone. It was clearly it was a phone that was found on the side. But if you saw from that photo, it looked like there was something there clearly. Okay, and I'll share, I got through, I got like 7, so like 1 per. Oh, geez, I may be short. I'm gonna make a quick copy. Okay, how many more we need? We got everybody? I don't know. Did you get one? No. Okay. Can you make? I can grab one more. Oh, actually, that's why I got one here. That's why I have a short one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.